We are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Live, Love, and Marry Wiser. I'm Lorraine Edwards. You're with my co-hosts, Renee and Onita. How you all doing today?
Fantastic.
Good.
Doing wonderful, ladies. Happy to be here.
Good. So we are happy to have you here. And Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, in all you're getting, get understanding. And when we think about what we want to present to you all and share with you all, we really want you to access wisdom so you can live, love, and marry wiser. We want your relationships to be happier and healthier. We want your marriages. We want your dating. We want your health. We want your whole life to be happier, healthier. And so we thank you for joining us again this week. So today we are talking about are the Passport Brothers right about American women? Now, if you haven't heard about the Passport Brothers, then this is going to be interesting for you. But if you have, it's even going to be more interesting. What are those Christian people going to talk about as it relates to this? And so I'm looking forward to that conversation. We do have a special guest who will be joining us again. He's the only person that has joined us twice that is not a host, I think. Isn't that right? Yeah. So that's special, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he's related to me. And so we will be looking forward to having him join us shortly. But before we do that, you know what time is it? Book launch is coming up in December, so we want to share what we're even talking about. If you haven't been with us, then you need to see this. In a world filled with challenges, one book empowers women to become warriors of prayer. Pray It Forward, for women who choose to fight on their knees. Dive into the transformative journey of prayer, fasting, and praise. Join a sisterhood of prayer warriors and discover the power that comes when you fight on your knees. And I say I like that every time, but I'm like, we actually had a coaching call today. It's on Tuesdays, and 5 people out of the 13 people, one of them is the leader. 5 people have published their book since September when we started. One more person is publishing next week, and I'm going to be publishing in December, and then a couple of people are going to be like January or so. So like everybody is like really close, or have already done it, and everybody has gotten on the bestseller or hot new release or whatever, one of those lists since they started. So I'm excited to be a part of this crowd. And when we have the actual date, of course, we will let you know that. Right now, we know it's not December 3rd, which is Sunday. And so thank you. There's our co-host who we've been missing for this whole month. I got next. And so I'm excited about that. And so when we have an actual release date, we will include that and let you know. You all know my birthday is December 3rd, which is this Sunday. And I was like hoping that next Tuesday I'd be able to say, here's the book. That's not going to happen. But it is coming in December. And so I'm excited about that. Well, the next thing that's happening in my life besides the book is the intentional dating. So low down on the update.
I've been waiting for this.
things are happening. And so I can't tell you about all of those in this short period of time. But one thing that I do want to talk about is um, I've gotten a couple of people, at least 2 or 3, I think, who have written me. And I was thinking about, do you think I should share, would you like me to share my profile, like message, like what I wrote on my profile? Because I can tell you about these guys, but I did something a little different on my profile that I kind of like. And I've gotten some folks emailing me. One guy from St. Kitts, he says he's a judge. I cannot confirm that yet, though I have been on LinkedIn. But he sent me an extensive email, and we're trying to like connect to talk or just email outside of the site. And so we'll see how that goes. And another gentleman on, I believe it's on the singles Adventist site, he also, felt like there would be great chemistry between us. So after reading the profile, and so we'll see how that goes.
I'm interested in hearing what you wrote for your profile description.
Okay, let me just get that out here. And I thought that I would do, that question is just really, those questions can be a little bit challenging. Like, what am I going to say? It's just a lot to try to figure out what you're going to say about yourself.
I was saying the exact same thing in my brain. Give me the deets.
And I should have opened this up before.
I'm like, I can find that brother St. Kitts information before we're done with this call tonight.
But, yeah, I know, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I'm sorry, y'all. This is taking longer than I anticipated, but I, for some reason, can't seem to find it. But I am wanting to, well, of course you want to stand out, but I also want to be more deliberate about what I'm doing and why this matters and why I'm even talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want people, seriously, y'all, come on. Like, I've only looked at this 1,000 times, and now all of a sudden I can't find it.
Well, maybe just give us the updates. Give us the updates so we can get.
I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But, so one guy, he could be really interesting, and I'm gonna reach out to him again. And another guy clicked that he liked me, because on the singles website, you both have to show interest before you can even message. On other ones, you can send a message just to initiate conversation. And so when I clicked on who likes you, he was under there. So I sent him a message, a question. He answered it, but it kind of felt like that one, Onita, that the first one, it kind of felt like I was just, so then this is me, okay? So at first I just said, "You're welcome." When he thanked me, he answered my question, but then the door seemed closed. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just move on. But then I was just like, but you liked me first. I didn't like you. I mean, I didn't even notice you. So I actually sent him a message, and this kind of relates back to Onita when we were talking about your story. I actually sent him a message before we got on here, and I said, I just want to clarify something. I'm new on the site, and so I'm still learning how to navigate. I looked under who likes me, and I saw your profile. I wasn't sure if you did that intentionally or if it was an accident. I don't have any problem. I just want to clarify because I like to ask rather than assume. And that was the message that I just sent him. So I haven't gotten a response back. But I'm just like, I'm not going to sit around here because he was cute. Like, let's just be clear. I won't be following up if he won't cute. But to me, that's a lot of the issues that we have. Even some of the things we're going to talk about today is that people make assumptions instead of asking questions. Because when you ask a question, you know the answer, and then you can respond in kind or know how to go forward. But when you just making assumptions, then you just doing whatever. And then sometimes you can miss out on something good. Sometimes you can end up with something bad because you didn't ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
That is the lowdown on the updates. And if I can find the profile, then I'll read that to you all at the end. But I'm excited to have my brother, Hayden Edwards, back with us again, just 2 weeks later, to talk more about dating in this time. So we're going to ask him to join us. What's up?
Hey, man.
Hello.
And Hayden has, as I mentioned the last time, he's been super supportive of this journey of YouTube and just learning. And he's like, you should talk about this. He told me this probably in the second season. He's like, you should talk about the Passport Brothers. And I had only briefly heard about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But then we had so many other things that we were trying to do. And I wanted to learn more about it before I came on here. But here we are. We finally made it.
All right. I'm ready.
It's going to be interesting. So the way that we're going to do it today is similar to what we do with our wrap-up shows. We're going to show a clip and then we're going to react to it. And so we want to start with talking about who are the Passport Brothers? What does that even mean? And what is that about? So I've been struggling a little bit, but we're going to make sure we can get you to actually see and hear what is happening in this little clip. So I'm going to put that there. And now it's going to have a little squiggly right at the beginning, but then it's going to come clear. All right. So let me turn this up.
Me personally, I think it's cool. Go to where you're appreciated. And if you're a guy and you're in the West and you cannot find an eligible partner that's going to appreciate you here in the West, and you can find that in Latin America, Southeast Asia, wherever it may be, Eastern Europe, go for it.
Can you kind of elaborate on Passport Bros?
Well, Passport Bros, basically, it's men who are dissatisfied with the women in the local environment. So typically you find them in Western countries, the United States, probably UK, Australia, just Western countries that are probably like a little more starting to go a bit woke. And so they'll often go to Latin America. They'll often go to Thailand or different countries where the perception is that in these countries, women are more traditional, they're more feminine, et cetera, et cetera. So they're moving there. And I think one interesting thing, so we have men from Western countries in the US that are going to these other countries to find women, but there's no men from other countries coming to the US clamoring to get with American women. Do you and the panel agree with the Passport Bro?
Ouch.
So,
Ouch. Ouch.
all right. So I'm going to call on Renee and then Hayden, then Onita. Renee, why you say ouch?
I mean, just the last statement about the men from other countries are not clamoring to get here. So, like, what is the reputation that we have in these other countries? I mean, just the statement alone was enough just to kind of punch a little bit.
Yeah. So, Hayden, why did this matter to you? Why did you want to talk about this?
Because I saw a couple years ago, I started seeing this stuff on social. So I actually found it kind of interesting because there was so much vitriol with men against American women. So I would just watch it when it came up on my YouTube feed or TikTok or Instagram. I mean, I was just like standing by. And then I saw one particular video that I sent to you where the woman was in Phuket and she was at the airport and she said half of the couples there were American men with local women. And I'm like, whoa, this is actually a real thing that's happening. The more I researched, I saw it seems as if the Philippines, they're going for it. They're saying you are discarding these men. They are attracted, and the women in the Philippines are with, no offense to them, they're not on here, just about anybody. I'm like, young women are with these older men of And it doesn't seem like they're gold diggers or anything like that. But because of their tan skin, Filipino men are looking for lighter skinned, whiter skinned women. So they're
Wow.
almost being rejected. So when he said go where you're appreciated, that's a two-way street in as I'm observing this. And I'm loving the content. I'm not saying it's for me, but just the hype of it, just American men saying, forget these women, and these Asian women and South American women are clapping back at American women who are saying the worst possible things
Yeah.
about them and misrepresenting them. They're being mean, and it's given them, you see what I tell you? You see, they are X, X, and X. When we know is these are just small subsections
Right.
of people, but it's fun to watch, and it's fun to see people with successful relationships. There are a couple ways that they do it. It seems like the passport bureaus are now saying, okay, get you a work online job that you can work anywhere from anywhere in the
Right.
world, and move to these areas, because American women are so terrible that you don't want to bring them back to the States to get corrupted by American women. Then there are the others that are bringing them back,
Yeah.
seeing stories of divorce or whatever. But I think for the most part, even growing up, I remember there was a family on one of the roads on our way back to our house where the I don't know if you remember where I'm talking about, Lorraine, where the husband was obviously an old military man and the wife was a younger Asian woman. I'm not sure what country, but this type of thing has been going on
Yeah.
forever. Really, from our military men were doing that. They
Mail
were
order.
going overseas to fight wars and bringing back their wives. So it's not a new phenomena, but the way that you know it's being hyped up now, I think that more men are going to say, "Hey, the women over there," and those women are saying that too. We're here to serve the man. We're not here for their money. It's a really interesting dynamic.
Okay. Onita.
Wow. I said ouch, then I said yikes because oh my gosh. And I hear why some people say, there's pee in the dating pool because wow. Wow. Thank God I'm not out there right now. I'll be married 24 years come January 1st. But I just think it's very well. First of all, I had a coworker that I was working with last year doing some contracting who has his fiance in the Philippines. And he goes back a couple of times a year. He talks about the money he sends, because his money goes further. It's helping to take care of her and her family. He is not attractive. He is a 3. He's tall. He's a little older. I did that specifically for Hayden because remember last time I said, you can get a 4 and then dress him up, and Hayden was like,
It was
he's like, no. You can't dress him 4 up to 7. Okay, Hayden. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm not rating. He probably doesn't look whatever. I don't know what he looks like. Personality wise, this particular person, he's very crass. Like he ain't getting play over here because of his demeanor, the way he acts. He's I want to say male chauvinistic because even male chauvinistic men can be respectful to women. So he's having to now go over their third marriage. Nobody, he's just not, he don't have it together. His ideal of dressing up is to buy a tuxedo, the t-shirt that the tuxedo is printed on the front. Exactly. He went to a formal event like that. So this is why he's gone over there to him. But I have heard of it. And then I actually have been in churches. Well, I know that had happened too. But because by the time people realize, these people, they're married and they have a couple of kids. And I didn't know why brother and sister so-and-so had such a huge gap. And then later getting to know him, he talks about going, back home to Jamaica to find my wife and bring her here, or going here. And I'm like, oh, that's what you were doing. So as you say, it's not new, but right now the fact that this phenomenon of promoting that go to these other countries, and I've seen a video of one lady in the Philippines going off on American women, like, yeah, we're taking y'all men, and y'all better, you don't want to cook for him, you don't want to clean for him, you just want to sit around and DoorDash all day and wear your Louis Vuitton purses and spend all this money. They're like, we're over here waiting to help take care of these men and do what women should be doing. So I think it's quite interesting that it's a good topic to discuss. I think for people who are not in the dating scene, for me, it was enlightening to even find out about it. And I also too went down the rabbit hole of seeing the different videos about it. So just interested for us to continue on with this conversation tonight. But so glad I'm not dating right now. Lord have mercy.
Renee, I know you have more to say than ouch. I'm going to come back to you, but I want to give you some time.
Definitely.
As a single woman, what are your thoughts?
Okay, you're back to me now. Okay. So, there are just so many things about this. Okay, so let's talk about the Jamaican man here in the States who goes back to Jamaica to get a wife. To me, that seems kind of normal, right? Because it is your culture. It's a family thing. That's gone on, for generation to generation. And yes, there may be differences in the way that, they see Jamaican women versus American women. It's legit. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. This is my opinion. However, when you're talking about American men who just are randomly saying, I'm fed up with women based on their bad experiences, I'm going to go to a whole nother country to go try to find another woman who's more submissive. To me, there's something wrong with that. And it kind of speaks to something with that man, right? Because if you watch enough videos, like you'll hear so many different things. But one of them that stuck out to me is that a lot of the guys who do that are like the American rejects. The women don't necessarily want them here. They're having some sort of trouble. So my thing is, if all of the women are giving you trouble, what does that say about you? You know what I mean? Like, if all of the women have attitudes, number one, where are you going to find your women? If all of the women are giving you attitudes, what are you giving them? You know what I mean? Like, help me understand why you are continuously having this experience to the point that you want to write off the whole community of women and go someplace else.
The whole continent.
But then again, I think
it's interesting.
Wait, Renee, finish. Renee, come to Hayden. Renee, were you finished?
No, the other thing that I was saying was that these men that are having these troubles here, and then they're going to these other countries to find these submissive women. To me, my first thought as I was, learning a little bit more about this was like, how egotistical is it of these men to go there to want these women to be submissive in a way where they're cooking and they're cleaning and they're doing a little bit of every single thing for this man to make you feel like a man. I don't know. Like, I just really was having an issue with that. Like, if you're going to these other countries and you happen to find love and happen to have a genuine connection with someone, that is great. But when you go over there for the express purpose of trying to get this woman because you have rejected all of these, that's something that I don't particularly agree with.
Okay, Hayden, you go. Then I'll make a comment. Then we'll show the.
Yeah, I think one of the other problems that we're having in this day and age around dating and even marriage is that word submissive. A lot of the submission route. A lot of these Asian women and the Filipinos are saying, "Well, we're not submissive in the way that you guys think we're submissive. We are a third world country, but they don't believe that making a man's meal is submission. They believe that's how they were raised, is that women take of our men. There's one video that really caught me off guard because I'm watching one person's content. He married a woman. She was about 15 years younger than him. Brought her to the States, and she got breast implants. And when they talk about that, they did a video about that and how it's okay with her. She was clearly uncomfortable as far as I could tell. She was uncomfortable and she kept saying, well, it's what you want. And he's like, no, it's what you want. And she's like, yeah, but you want it. So I'm like, I don't like this guy already because, I mean, didn't you guys practice this before you got on the video? She did not want to do this. She was doing this to please him. And I had a problem with that. But she doesn't want him to she says she gets offended when he wants to cook. She gets offended when he wants to clean up. And I feel like he's like almost the worst of the worst just because I have something about him in my head. But she says, yeah, that's my role. So trained from birth to do this. This is a woman's role. And I guess men are saying that here in the States, the women are quite not like that. So whether that's submission or not, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the submissiveness is more of something that happens in your mind and in your heart rather than something that happens at the handle of a broom or with the dish soap or not. But this is they're just socialized differently. I don't know if I can fault men to say, okay, here's my preference. I'd rather that opposed to this. I mean, I'm sure it's toxic in some ways, but it could be toxic.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to fault a guy that says, I want to have a family. I want a wife that says,
here's my thought that in the same way that I don't like the fact that some of the men in this community are dismissing the whole continent of women, as Ebony just said, and you all referenced. There are some people who are saying, it's not that I want a submissive woman. I want a traditional family where my wife stays home and takes care of the children and doesn't work. And I'm obviously, there are women in America who would do that. There are women in Australia, there are women, but the reality is true that Renee will do that for those of you who might be. Renee, she just then I mean, I'm not gonna have no babies, but I'll stay home and let you take care of me while I do some YouTube. But that I think that it is fair, because I want to be fair to both sides, to say that in Western culture, not just in America, but this is where we are, women tend less to want to do that exclusively. They may be happy taking some time away and like, oh, okay, I'm going to work for this many years and then we'll stop and, we'll have a baby. But a lot of women are not, they want to start businesses. They want to do other things. They have purpose. And I'm not saying, I think raising a family is purpose, but it's not, it's like, well, that's not all I want to do. And so I think that it can be difficult to find a woman who you want to be with, who is like, okay, I will do that exclusively. But then it's also hard to find a man who will let you do that exclusively, because and we'll talk about this scripture at the end, but we did a whole episode on submission, and we talked about, yes, women submit to your husbands, all that. Men, love your wife as Christ loved the church. And
gave himself for it.
and gave himself for it. And my line was, if your ass is not like Christ, then don't be trying to ask somebody to submit to you. You don't deserve to be submitted to. Now, we know that the toxic version of this is very dismissive of the whole continent, but you can't date everyone in the world, in the country, to find out that now you want to go somewhere else. So I think that we can give a little bit of, there's some grace in me for some of this, but not the dismissiveness. Now, one of the clips, I'm about to show another clip, but one of the clips was a guy who has been following this movement, and he was saying that there is the perception that the Passport Brothers are denigrating particularly Black women, but American women, and they're putting them down and they're saying negative things. And he's saying, well, I've been following it for a long time. He wasn't saying he was really a part of it, but that he'd been following it for a long time. And he's like, and that's not true. They're just saying they prefer this. Now, we know it is true on some points. Because this is not monolithic either. There's some who are super extreme, just like in the red pill community. And I'm sure that these are tied together in some way, like people are coming out of that. And then there's some who are just saying, you know what, I haven't found this. I know that a lot of cultures, even the women are saying in those cultures, we are trained how to be, we are prepared to be wives and mothers. Mm-hmm. So even if they have other careers, that's what they're trained to be. So I'm not embracing this, but I'm not saying all of them are, bad. So let's go to the next clip here. Let me make sure I can, do this right for you all. I think. This is a lot of steps here. A lot of steps. All right. Can you hear that? No. I can't even hear it. Okay.
The fact that men are still expected to act very chivalrous. They're expected to be very chivalrous. They're expected to take care of themselves. They still have to take care of you. They are expected to do things like open your door, give the jacket, things like that. But if that's what a man's duty to you is, to be chivalrous, it's very, very loosely defined what a woman's duty to a man is.
It's very ambiguous.
And that is why I think they go to places where they are actually taught from a young age how to treat a man. What is your duty to a man? What I can appreciate about Passport Bros is I think it's an effective flag being raised for Western women as well. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to find someone. I'm not saying that they're not going to get screwed over. I'm not even necessarily saying that I would encourage men to go do it. Like you said, if you want to, cool, go do it. I do think, though, that the motivation for it is the fact that men are still expected to act very traditionally.
I'm gonna leave that, but we missed the beginning. So basically, this gentleman is saying that women here, we're going to say America, still expect men to be chivalrous and take care of things and provide and protect, but that what women's role is now seems to be ambiguous. Like, what is the role? And so speak to that. I'm going to go with Onita first.
First of all, there's so much to unpack over why women and men are doing. It's like so many layers. Part of me want to go down the road of when tradition broke, and speak to the fact that, especially in our community, when we just went from in the 60s having 80% of two parents in the home, and to where our generation was raised mostly single parents. So one, you even get the view to see a woman being able to be this softer side, just mom in the home, taking care of the home. Women had to go out and earn the bacon, so to speak. But even our country, the fact of segregation and how they were more willing to give women the roles, give a job than the men, that played a factor. But okay, come up now to this point of what he was saying. I've seen women share a lot of posts. I mean, and let's talk about one of the women we talked about when you were on last time, Hayden, the whole I'm not going to Cheesecake Factory theory.
Mhm.
There's this persona and there's this vibration or tone of women really thinking now I'm just to be pampered, taken out to the restaurant. You're to do all these things for me traditionally, pay for everything, and I'm to look cute. I guess they're giving sex on demand. I don't know. Um, but their value and what they bring to the table is me. I'm enough, and I get that. Let's have self worth. So the tone has definitely shifted in that. So I understand kind of what this guy said that there's an expectation that men are to act traditionally. Their money take care of everything, and she's over here sitting on this pedestal. You do everything for me, and that's it. I think that is a very selfish mode to be, as anybody wanted to be in a relationship. I also was not raised that way. I definitely, coming from a strong line of women, there still was an instruction, even if it wasn't said, it was done. Where even when my grandmother worked, or the woman I saw work, guess what? They still had a hot meal on the table. The man in the house still got the big piece of chicken. Kids were still disciplined, told to respect him, even when we knew sometimes that man, whether it be my uncle, dad, granddad, didn't act right. There was something they did wrong. We were
Mhm.
not, we weren't brought in on the conversations of he no good, da 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 da. And that thing has shifted, it has changed. So, like he said on the um first video about women being more woke now. Well, woke can mean a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think right now this culture of the feminist movement has gone from, burning your bras and I'm woman Henry Roar, I can work, to I can do it all and everything by myself. I don't need a man, and that's fine. But when you go to the point of where one level on one aspect, you want him to be faithful to you, you want you to have this man that loves you and all these things, but then when you're saying I don't, but I'm not gonna cook. We both gonna cook. We both gonna clean. We both gonna do that. That's fine and dandy. If you do, I do believe you should be able to share, especially if you're working. Even in our premarital counseling, the pastor told us, he said to Victor, "Hey, if you both are working, then you both need to help with the household things."
Right.
And we just divvied them up to how we felt best for us. I did most of the cooking. He did the laundry. So that was good. You just have to have those conversations. What works for you works for you. But I think it's very honestly, it's sad that the state of affairs that we're in right now, and a lot of people are doing it, is that where people are being more selfish, I guess, or
Yeah, that's the word.
getting out of the relationship. It's only about them, and actually you two people coming together. It's not just even about compromising. It's serving each other, and how can we be?
Mhm.
How can I help? Enhance your life, and vice versa.
Right.
My husband flat out came out and said to me one day, "I know you can do probably everything. You don't need me for nothing. I appreciate it that you allow me to be of this." And he, at a time when most of our friends were not allowing their wives to stay home, and I say allow because, and I'm talking about church. I'm saying allow because we would be in group conversations where the men be like, "Oh no, she going back to work as soon as that baby's 6 weeks old."
Mm, mm.
And we made a conscious decision. He said it's going to be tight, and it was tight financially. We tried to prep and prepare for it because it's not something we saw. If women were home when I was growing up, it's because they were getting some type of public assistance. It was not necessarily it wasn't the Cosby Show. It was something like that nature. But we made a decision to allow me to be able to stay home for at least a year for health. We want to make sure our child was healthier. But that it took a struggle. It was a struggle time, things to make ends meet, but we did that. And then it continued when we relocated. And I would have women all the time actually down me, church friends, say, "Oh, and they wouldn't take it as they would say comments like, it must be nice you could be home all day.
Yeah, yeah,
It must be nice." And guess what? It was nice. But as far as
I
it did
love that. I love
it
that.
did it did chip away at my esteem though sometimes, because I took pride in that. I took very much pride in it because I know it was something that was a blessing for us to be able to do. And that did not happen for either my husband or I, but I saw the value of my children, me shaping their personalities.
Mhm.
I love the fact that my husband he always went into his sock drawer. He got his sock, his underwear. He never thought about it. His dry cleaning, he never thought about it. I always had meals prepared. And there'd be times he'd say, hey, don't worry about it. We'll eat out. Or he even hired a cleaning person to let me get rest. But I took pride in that. But I will tell you, there were lots of women who negatively would make little comments here and there.
Okay. I think
Job.
no, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. I mean, I don't love that happened, but I think it brings context to just that idea, because I think that there are more women, and I'm gonna come to you next and then Hayden. I think there are more women who actually do want to stay home and raise a family, but there's that. Because in this culture, that's not esteemed, where in other cultures, it is esteemed. It is seen as important. It is seen as a critical purpose of your life. And I'm happy that you had a husband who you all did that and valued that. And I'm sad that people even in the church, and I know that's true. That's just how we roll sometimes. Just like, But I think that's part of the problem here. I think that's part of how this has gotten to the place where it is, because it's not only not valued by a lot of men, because even a lot of men who want that, they don't value their wives who do that. They act like they aren't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just heard, I was watching a podcast last night, and some of this was kind of coming up along the lines of, there was a man on there who was saying that husbands should pay 100% of the financial, regardless of if their wife is working. But he said you should make it so whatever, you don't have to be rich, but you should be paying 100% of the household expenses so that your wife can stay home and take care of the family. And in that conversation, the guy, one of the hosts was saying that some guy wrote a book that was saying that that women should be paid, if their actual salary was quantified for staying home, they should be paid $80,000 per child.
Wow.
Stay home and take care. And so when
Anybody got that?
Right. But the thing is, if women who stayed home were valued like that, even if you couldn't actually pay them that, which that wasn't the point, but if they were valued in that way, I think more women would be honest and could come out and say, I do want to stay home and take care of my children. I do want to do that. I will do that. But when the men aren't valuing it, and then other women even aren't valuing it, then it's kind of like, no, I got to get out here and grind. I got to put my nose to the grindstone. I got to do this. I got to do that. And that part of us that is the nurturer that God put in us has to kind of sometimes be suppressed to accomplish those things that now is about making the bag and all of that. So, Renee?
I totally agree with everything that you just said. But in response to that video, I think that there's definitely, let me say this. People tend to speak from their experiences, right? So, and they advise from their experiences. So from me, the advice that I got is that you need to always make sure that you are able to take care of yourself in the event you get with a man and he leaves you, right? So that means get out there, get your education so you can make X amount of money, so that, again, in the event you end up alone, whether it be them leaving you or they die or whatever the case may be, you need to be able to take care of yourself. And I think that some people hear that advice and then they kind of, what's the word? I want to use the word amplify, but that's not the word I really want to use. But they kind of go overboard with it. Right now, you become the independent woman I can do for myself, and I don't need a man and all of this and that, because I took it a little too literal. You know what I mean? But what I have learned is I have been that woman. I have been that independent woman who says, I got it. I don't need a man or whatever. Or if I do need him or want him, it's when I say, right? But as time goes on and you begin to age a little bit, you quickly come to realize that two is better than one. That book called the Bible, when it's talking, it's saying some real stuff, right? Because especially like now with this economic shift, you know, whether you rent or your own stuff, whether you rent or own stuff is expensive. Groceries are expensive. Gas is expensive. And it's nice not to, and it's not using each other, but it's utilizing, you know, basically what God set out for us, which is that partnership for us to work together to, you know, kind of lighten the load. The other thing that I'll say that I learned as I have aged is that you're talking about, Lorraine, women being natural nurturers, being nurturers. I feel like that is to be able to nurture is an expression of love, right? That's something that we naturally have in us that we want to be able to pour out. And so when we put ourselves in environments where we don't have anybody to pour into, it doesn't feel good. You know, you want to be able to, yeah. So for me, I don't mind. I feel like I am most definitely deserving of a really good meal, right? But it's different when I cook a meal for myself, which I deserve and I enjoy. But it's different when my son comes by to visit and he gets back and enjoy the meal. You know what I mean? Or if I were, you know, in a relationship, for that person to come and enjoy the meal, for my family to come. It's different when we can express our love through making sure our home is neat, not just for me. I want it to be comfortable for me and I deserve it, but I love it when my friends come by and they can get comfortable as well. You know, and I'm taking this thing that I have enjoyed, like being able to take care of myself and my singleness is great, but I now see the value in the partnership, in having somebody else who can come in and enjoy these things with me, who can come and share the load with me as well. And I think like with that whole, the man wants to be respected and the woman wants to be loved. If, you know, man and woman can find this balance, I think that submission, that nurturing and all of that, it would just come naturally. It would come naturally. That's why, you know, I'm kind of these passport brothers are bringing to the table when it comes to these relationships. And I understand everybody's got something, but you know, those are just some of my.
No, thank you, Hayden.
Yeah, I appreciate what Renee said in the spirit that she said it. And I think that what men are, I wonder if you are are you the norm or are you the exception? I think especially Black women have the most degrees of any demographic in the United States currently. They are boss bees. They are they are opening up businesses. So it's easy for us to stereotype them as that. And then we have a lot of trash Black men who don't deserve that. So now we have all this infighting where the people that we have people in there that could get together, but everyone's dealing with the extremes instead of looking for those diamonds in the rough. And I believe that there are diamonds in the rough. So definitely some of these bums are going overseas to find women, but there's also the regular schmegular Black men, former military, corporate executives. I saw a video, a guy that's not a bad looking guy, attorney in Houston, making six figures plus. He is in Manila because he hasn't been able to find those diamonds in the rough, and he's listening to everything that's being said in society and in Black culture and in the Black dating sphere with all that pee in the pool, and he's decided that he's going to opt out and go there. And what they're telling me, what they're saying on these videos is, you don't have to have any, as the young people say, Riz. You know the Riz? You guys heard of the Riz?
I don't know.
Wow. You don't have to have any game. in the Philippines. You don't have to have any game in Thailand. You need a little in Colombia and in the Dominican Republic, but you don't have to have game. You go there, they're at the airport. You go out at night, they're there. It's like I said earlier, it seems to me that marrying American men has become an industry, especially in the Philippines and Thailand. Now, remember, Philippines, part of their primary, secondary education is English.
Yes.
And Thailand, it's going to be their bills in their houses of parliament to make English part of their curriculum, so that they say it's to do better trade. Yeah, trade of what? But anyway, so to make them more competitive with the Philippines or some of the Central American countries that speak English.
Because they're bringing those dollars into the country.
Absolutely. Would this make us, could I ask a question? Do y'all consider this a form of trafficking?
There are women that are out there, they're angry women making angry videos saying that this is trafficking.
No, I do not think, and you know what? In some respects, that not the question, but that concept sort of offends me, because then and it kind of lends to the whole. And I'm about to show a video of some women, American women, talking about the women over there.
Mm-hmm.
It lends to that idea that they are submissive in that way. They're like kissing their feet, and like they're desperate to get their money or get a green card and all of these things. Are there people like that? Probably, yes.
Oh, I can tell you, I can name a couple of them.
Everything, but I think that these are educated. A lot of them, they're educated, they're intelligent. They're making a choice out of the choices that are available to them.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that no one would say that if I met a millionaire. I'm just saying, you can come. I'm on the YouTube. You can email me if you're out there. But I would be making a choice to be with that person. Why would they not be making those same choices?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they are independent women in the sense of they have the ability to make those choices. So yeah, I'm sure, as Hayden said, people are accusing them of that. But if you're angry about that situation, but then by the same token, you're saying nobody wants them, nobody cares, why does it matter to you?
Exactly.
So anyway, let me show this video. And I think this is, wait, let me come back over here. And I believe that this is, we're gonna try to show this one right now. Okay. Go here, and nope. Then here. There's a lot of steps.
And women are hard to deal with. We want money, we're tired, and we're disrespectful, apparently, right? So you go to another country to find an easier woman that needs your money, that needs your passport, that needs your green card. Of course, she's nicer to you.
So they're going abroad because they believe that the cultural and language barriers will allow them to find a wife that's easy to manipulate, to control, to lie to, and that your standards are going to be lower than ours. Wherein in reality, your standards are going to be the same, if not higher, than women in the US. So we're actually waiting for the ball to drop when they realize this, that they're not going to get what they want, that they're not going to find somebody to manipulate. So you could have that.
Women are.
So this is just a little bit of what women in America or Western culture are saying about the women over there. And besides the fact that, again, we want to talk about the people that are in the middle. because there are men who are extreme and there are women who are extreme, but the people who are in the middle who are people who probably just want somebody to love them and to be in the kind of relationship that they desire. I'm not advocating this as a movement and as a rejection of American women. I'm an American woman, obviously, who's trying to intentionally date. So obviously I'm not advocating that all the men go over there, because now I'm gonna have to move over there so they can run into them and be like, oh, there is one. But I'm like, but I am saying that seems to me, feels like another way that women can now be against women again, and that's kind of been especially women of color, even though she wasn't. But it's just like, so now women in America are against women in the Philippines and Thailand and all these other places, some women. And this is kind of some of the rhetoric. Now, some of it I couldn't play because it was a lot of cussing and just stuff that, obviously we're not going to play on this program. But it's basically saying, oh, they're so easy to manipulate, and that's why men want to go over there and find. And I'm just like, how is this like actually helping? Like, what are you saying about it? Now you're just the same way that those men are dismissing a whole continent of women. Now many women here are dismissing a whole country of women.
Multiple countries of women.
Multiple countries of women, and denigrating them. And so now we're against each other again. And that's kind of been a history of women being against each other versus being together.
Yeah, it's very divisive. Like you just said, just being against each other. Only thing I would say I can agree with one point. You're not going to manipulate them, or you're not going to. I guess what she's saying is they're going to have expectations too. My only expectation is to be respected. Like, they're being raised to regard men, respect them, love them, care for them. They're also being raised to be treated with respect and valued as well. So if there is, like you said, somebody going there who's very extreme, thinking he's going to get, some doormat to walk over, then no, he's not going to get that.
One of the things the men point out is that when they go to these places, these women's families vet them. There's a vetting process that doesn't necessarily happen in the States anymore. So it's not that they can just be a total bum and get a woman. It's they have to go through a process with a family.
And that's a big part of, again, why we're like that. Our family dynamic shifted. So even that, you won't find that a lot here, where you even have to come and get permission. It's old school. Some women are, there's a big movement of people are really like, they're offended if you have the tradition. I mean, people don't even want to be called him or her. God forbid you trying to put any type of traditional view on them. So again, the family dynamics have shifted in this country for a long time, to where, like, so even now we have my daughter and all of them know, whoever, for instance, the guy wants her phone number. Even in high school, my daughter, a guy wanted to get her number. We told her he needs to contact your dad and I to get her number first. She knew this wasn't a new thing. We talked about it. Her friends were mortified. All of them, stuck around talking to these boys. And we said no, because any brother having right intentions will not have an issue asking me if he can call you.
Yeah.
Only one did. The rest of them kind of was like, well, all right, then, well, can I hit you on Snapchat? And she was like, no, you can't, or can I hit you on this? But to that point, some of those things, if they know there's a family there that cares for you and they're going to get vetted, then they're going to move differently.
Right.
But I think the whole family unit again has shifted to where people don't even bring you around their family. You're not even going to meet them. And the respect that people used to give for certain families, or the matriarchs and patriarchs of their family, is no longer there. One last thing I will say, I did see some of this where I used to live in New England. I won't say, people watching may know, but there are people in African countries who, I saw this a couple of times. And once I was in the hair salon and they were talking about it, then one of the lady's sister was going to help marry somebody from that country back in Africa. and it was a just pay situation. It was so that he can get his papers. And so
Yeah, of
they
course.
they wrote out the agreement for the next 5 years. He pay her rent, he buy her car, he pay for her to go to school. And they were talking about it casually. I'm sitting there under the hair dryer, like, because for me, I don't want to hear that because I do not. All I'm thinking is about one day FBI can pull them in the room and then they're gonna say who was in there. So I'm trying not to hear. But I was shocked because it seemed to be a common thing. So as I start to see people sometimes post up on Facebook they got married and you never even saw them dating somebody, and they're like, "Oh, I went back, went there, and then they brought them over." I started to be like,
Renee.
situations. But
No,
yeah,
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Renee, what you
No,
got?
I was going to say that, sometimes we operate out of like a warped way of thinking when it comes to vetting, the new, and when the warped way of thinking is the family that is not dating you. You're not dating the family. They don't need to like you. You know what I mean? As long as we're good, as long as we're happy. And then we end up, in a lurch because we didn't have, our friends or our family to help take the time to really get to know somebody and to see the things that we don't see. So, I mean, if they're doing that in other countries, then they have an upper hand on us.
They do.
Because that independent mindset over here is doing us a lot of harm.
It's a huge disservice, and I am 100% in favor of accountability while you're dating, not just when we getting close to, no, while you're dating. Your family, your friends, the people who know you best should be all up in that relationship. And until because they can see 360 and you see like this, you see like 90 degrees, and he can charm you to death and you can charm him to death. But the people around you just be like, nah, that don't feel right. Something about that. The way he talked to her, the way he said, the way she looked, they can see those things because they're not invested. And I think that, if you've raised your daughter to be a wife and a mother, you're a healthy person. Obviously, we know people do bad stuff, okay? But if you've raised your daughter to be a mother and a wife, you want to see her do that with someone who's worthy of her, because that person is joining your family. It's not just, especially the guys who are moving there to work and live, they're joining the family and they're going to be around the family. They're not just taking her away and going, and you don't know what happens to your daughter. And so there is a vetting process for many of these. Not all. There's, as we know, that it's not monolithic, but typically in a lot of the countries there is a vetting process. Hayden?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I got out of what all of you guys are saying is that where's the change needed? Do we really have a contaminated dating pool here in the States? And if we do, who needs to change? Where does the change have to probably both sides, but these men are saying that they're not getting a chance. They're being rejected in the worst possible ways. They're being asked. Remember, I told you about my dates. Every one of them asked about how much money I made in some way or the other. One of the people I'm still in contact with again, and I've actually told her, hey, I was on. She watched it, and she said she's embarrassed because that's not what she's like. I wasn't trying to get into your pockets. I just, when you get to be our age, you want stability.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm looking for stability. I'm not looking to take care of anyone. And I totally get that. Women in their 40s and whatever else, you don't want to marry someone that can't that you have to take care of. I get that. But I think with that, a lot of walls have been put up to the point that the way it's expressed might feel offensive to men. And we have our fragile egos. You can't mess with those fragile egos. So you have to be careful. I don't want to put it all on women. We need to toughen up too and recognize that everyone's not coming to digging our wallets. Everyone's not coming to just give us all the responsibilities of a home or whatever. And that there are advantages to American women outside of, being a passport bro. So I would encourage men, play out those options here first. And if you can't, I'm not going to be mad at you if you go overseas and you're able to find someone that can fit those criteria.
I was thinking about that too. I was just like, okay, I love the movie Sex and the City 2 with Jennifer Hudson in it. And in that movie, Jennifer Hudson moved from St. Louis, Missouri to New York for the purpose of love. And I was like, okay, well, what's the difference? You know what I mean? You move, changing states, changing, you know, continents. Maybe it's not
changing race.
Yeah,
changing race. I was thinking about that as well. Stepping outside of the norm and what's comfortable for you. Just kind of broadening your horizons. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that with proper intentions, pure intentions, right? Because Anita, you're talking about, is it trafficking? Well, I think it depends on their intentions, because they were talking about how some of these passport bros are all about sex trafficking. They can't get, that here, so they go there so that they can engage in those things. But yeah, I definitely think it depends on what, they're going for, what their intentions are.
Right. And I agree with that. And I would say that it goes back to what you said at the beginning, that when you are dismissing a whole continent of women as something, when you're defining them as something, even though you haven't met every woman, it's different than when you're just saying, this is what I prefer. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to see what I can, just like being like me being on a dating site, it's to expose myself to more people than just that live at my house and that go to my church, because that's the only two places that I go. So it's another place that you can meet someone or say, hey, this is an option for me. But I want to just play this last video, because this is the other perspective here that we want to, and this is.
Other people wanted, and we wanted them and we got them, and now you just sound like you're insecure and you're jealous and you're bitter because they were probably treating you great in relationships, but you chose to do the opposite of treat them great back, and it's really showing.
Attention to the passport bros, like,
sorry, yeah.
So she was the perspective of somebody who's in one of those countries, like, y'all mad,
right?
Like,
I got your man.
Yeah. So, and hey, she's probably right. Some people probably are mad, but
Can I say that at the beginning? You know what? Let me try to play the beginning of that, because the beginning of that I felt was offensive on the part of the Black woman. So I'm gonna try to play that.
These men that other people wanted, and we wanted them and we got them, and now you just sound like you're insecure and you're jealous and you're bitter because they were probably treating you great in relationships, but you chose to do the opposite of treat them great back, and it's really showing.
Attention to the passport bros, like, they're getting women from like the DR, Colombia, the Philippines.
You were tearing down.
So when there's other clips of it's a Black woman you can see, and then another Black woman you can just tell she's Black. She's kind of the Hallelujah chorus, basically saying that you're getting women from the DR and Colombia, and they, they can't speak English, and she was kind of putting them down, like, oh, that's the kind of woman you're getting, and so this
uneducated, poor.
And there was actually several people responded to that video, and this just didn't show as well as I wanted to, but we got to move on because we're running out of time now. But I think that, and then I saw a response video where the woman was very educated and beautiful and elegant, and they speak English. We just had people from our church go to the Philippines for a mission trip. They speak English. She's like, pretty much everyone spoke English, and because it's one of the languages they speak. We're one of the only countries that the only language that we speak or taught to speak is English if you're born here. And so I think that the just rounding it out, I'm going to give everybody maybe a short 1 minute statement to close out, just kind of what your thoughts are and what you feel, what we should do. How do we manage this? Because the reality is we don't talk about this stuff in church, but this is what's happening in the world of dating. And if you're a single person trying to date, you're going to run into some of these biases. You're going to run into some of this gender war issue. You're going to run into some of these mindsets. And so how do you navigate that as a Christian person who still wants to be dating and have an effective and positive and happy relationship? I'm going to start with Renee and then go to Onita, then Hayden.
We're talking about men going to other countries, finding women who are, they're saying poor, uneducated, and this and that, right? But at the end of the day, these men are deciding to marry them, right?
Yes.
I think that happens here in the States as well, because you hear about the rich man who has this rich and sedity woman, and he leaves her for the waitress at Wendy's.
Yes.
Well, kindness goes a long way. Respect goes a long way.
Yeah,
Submission to whatever degree goes a long way, because men clearly, and I've heard a lot of men say this, so Hayden, you would have to speak on this. I've heard a lot of men say, I don't care what your educational background is. I don't care how much money you make or things like that. And don't get me wrong, we're women. We do care, right? However, if there are women out here who are going really hard to make top dollar so she can impress a man, then you probably can pull back a little bit, because that's not
because they can't keep less.
That's not something that they're necessarily looking for. But again, I'll let the man speak on that. But again, my first thought when hearing about the passport brothers is that they were egotistical men who, wanted to go overseas so they can get their ego stroked and all this and that. But I realized that there are just a lot of different type of men with a lot of different type of life experiences, dating experiences that would cause them to go and do some of these things, right? A military man, you're overseas, that's your pool. That's your dating pool. People of different cultural backgrounds here in the States, they decide to go home and get some, that's their pool. It's okay. But at the end of the day, I lost my thought, you guys. I totally ran into a brick wall. Anybody like to pick that up for me?
If you want to be, I think maybe if you make the decision to go swim in another pool, then that's your right. Don't pee in the pool that you left here, and then try to go get a clean pool somewhere else.
Right.
But I think maybe that's the way you were going. Onita?
Yes, very well said. I put 4 points here so I can stick to the point. Number one, like you said, if you decide to go there to do that, that is your choice. Find love wherever you feel you can. I would say to the men who are thinking this is their final option, and to the women in our country who have felt hurt by men and who don't feel that they can be these soft, traditional women, I would say to both sides, do the work on you to get healed first, because what we're dealing with is a country, a world anyway, but even for us culturally, generations of hurt and trauma that we have taken on that we're not healed from. So I would say, even before getting somebody else, do the work to get healed. Number one. Number two, change your picking pool. Renee just kind of talked about that. Maybe you need to go to a different state. Maybe maybe you go to the gym now, switch gyms. I don't know if you guys are literally just going to the club to pick up a girl. Guess what? She ain't there. She is at home doing facial. She done worked all week. She tired. She's not at the club. So change your picking pool, change work, like go and do something totally different, or change states before you leave the country, because there's so many single women here who need a good man. Number three, be open to other races. That's for both sides, the men and the women. I know Black women, my single Black sisters, you're like, I want my Morris chestnut and Morris whatever. Unfortunately, and I will tell you, because I do some work with the corrections facilities, either a lot of them are homosexual or they're locked up. You don't have a lot of picking pool choices when it comes to Black men. And if you're over 30, a lot of them are taken. And finally, number four, single ladies, stop listening to mainstream media, mainstream music. Some of these role models who are not,
Yes.
who are also hurting women,
Amen.
who are talking about that WAP. And listen, everybody got a WAP, so I don't care how much you do with it. Stop listening to mainstream media and start getting back to listening to great grandma. And I say great grandma because some grandmas are my age right now. Start listening to great grandma and do some old school traditional things. I'm telling you, it will work, and that's on God.
All right. Hayden.
I just want to piggyback on something Renee said. Men don't care about your money. There was a woman that was interested in me. It's a long story, but I was driving Uber, picked her up from a nightclub. She was kind of drunk, and I helped her into her house. Left. She demanded my number, and she's been I'm not gonna say that. She's been a friend since then. She's she works for an investment firm. She's got money. When I went to buy my restaurant, she was willing to write a check for it. It's not a small amount of money, and I'm like, I don't want the strings that are attached to that. So I didn't want to be part of that. She's a very pretty woman, but what I'm looking for, what I'm searching for, I've struggled. I've been married twice. I don't. I'm like, yeah, I could be good for the rest of my life, but just from a work standpoint, just from I had to terminate an employee Saturday night, and man, I needed a wife. I needed somebody to, just to
talking to share
yes,
with.
just to talk it out with what I felt, how what I needed. So a soft place to land. I mean, I had my bros, and everyone's like, yeah, you did the right thing. But that's what, and I think that's what these guys, they're looking for, something softer than the traditional American women. We know that the anomalies exist, but they are saying that the American woman is hard, she's tough, she's about her money and about her everything else, and they don't feel like they're getting that other thing from her, whereas these other women, in contrast, are not so career focused, and they're more family focused. They live with their families, their extended families, and that has kept them in a place where they're more sensitive to the man's needs. And I mean, men apparently need something else. We need cheerleaders. We need. I don't need someone to do my laundry. I don't need someone to wash the dishes. But I do need the spirit of those things. If you get where I'm going, the spirit of someone that wants to serve you in a way. And I know it sounds bad, and I don't want it to sound bad.
It don't sound bad.
Yeah, but finding women like that, I think that those could close the loop, and I think that that's what these men, at least that's what I hope they're saying, and I'm sure there's a subset of these men that are bad, but I think for the most part it's just men who have given up on dating here, for whatever reason, and have found a place to land. I mean, I watch the success stories, and I've watched the failures, and it looks like the failures to me are bad men. The ones that are failing, they're bad men. They have the wrong expectations. But yeah, I like that they're going into another pool. I don't know if I'll ever do it. I think that at some point I might take a trip to one of these countries just to see if it is as they say.
Can I go?
Well, I don't know.
Can you take me with you?
I do have my passport as of a few months ago.
Oh, nice. I think there might be some nice men to, and it's so funny because Hayden is my brother, for those who joined later, but my sister is the producer. She's the one behind the scenes, like taking care of a lot of stuff. And Hayden was like, Heather, you are Passport sister, because her husband actually she met online and she went to Africa and he came here. So I'm like, hey, I might need to hook that up. But so I guess I will end with, in my final thoughts is that I think what Anita said, one thing she said, well, everything she said was great, but one thing about being healed, a lot of times we're looking for people who don't match who we are, and that's why we're not finding that. A lot of times we say we attract who we are. And so if you're not a man who's loving as Christ, you want a woman who's submissive, then you're out of alignment. If you're a woman who wants a man who loves like Christ, but then you're not willing to submit, you're out of alignment. And so you're going to repel each other. And if you keep doing that without actually looking inside of yourself and saying, what does God actually want from me as a woman? What does God actually want from me as a man? We're gonna look at, if you have your Bibles, I didn't type it all out, Ephesians 5:22 through 29. When you look at that and really think about all the places where God describes, we talk about the Proverbs 31 woman and 1 Corinthians 13 and how do you love and all of these things. We talk about it, but are we really asking God to create in us a new heart so that we can be about it? And so for me, I've done a lot of work. I want to be that woman who is, I've decided to be, I've always believed in submission to the right person, but I want to be so that I can attract. And so whether that's here and he's a brother, whether that's here and he's other than a brother, whether that's in another country because I'm visiting or whatever that is, then I'm letting God lead. But that's the main point. As I said, we're not talking about this in church, but it's affecting us in church because those men aren't saying, oh, well, these women are different because they're lumping all of us together. And the truth of us that we know, even in our churches, there are women who are just like, I'm not getting ready to, who he talking to? I'm not getting ready to submit to him. Forget all. We know that. We have people like that. I don't have friends but I have people like that who talk like that, and men who are just like domineering and unkind, and they want somebody to submit to them. So even as a church, we're not demonstrating the traits that God wants us to be as partners, because if we did that, the world starts to see there's something different about the relationships in that church. There's something different about the dating in that. There's something different about, but we're so like the world that we're not attracting them to us or to God.
Wow.
So even though we want to talk about things that are in the world, we want to bring that to this platform. We want to bring it to the platform with the idea of making sure that those who are on this platform who are single and dating or have children who are dating, that what's happening out there. But we also want to bring it to the platform to say, we're supposed to be different. And if we're not different, how do we become different? Through the word of God, through doing that healing, through making those changing, through looking at our character and saying, yeah, I am kind of against submission. I am resistant. I don't bring peace. Men always talking about they want peace.
Amen.
And I want peace too. They want it more than us, but if we're honest, a lot of women don't bring peace. If we're honest, a lot of men aren't very loving. So when we start being honest about who we are and the fact that as a people of God, we're in many cases not different than the people of the enemy. When we change, then that becomes a concentric circle. This circle changes, and then it spreads to those who know you and are just friends of the church. Then it spreads to people who are friends of the friends. And now we can start changing the pool versus trying to jump out of the pool and go somewhere else, because sin is everywhere.
Yeah. The scripture that you
like I'm just kidding.
the scripture that you quoted, I love this verse. A pastor brought this verse to me. The one we says, husbands 25 in Ephesians 5, love your wives even as Christ also loved the church. And that's where we usually stop.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes on to said, and give himself up for it. What did that mean? And that Christ, that he gave his life, his very life for the church. How does that relate to how a man should behave in a relationship? And I think that that's part of the, why would you, if a man did that, and I'm guilty.
Come on.
If a man
you got
did
to
that,
say it.
he was giving himself for you. I loved, but we weren't taught to give ourselves in that way. But when we do that, submission comes easy.
Easy. Oh, you said that. You said it. That, I mean, I was thinking it earlier, but that is so, I have never, for real, like nobody that I am close to, no woman that I'm close to would be afraid to submit to a man who loved like that. The problem is it's hard to run into men that love like that. So absolutely.
Because men are gonna feel like if I'm giving myself for you, I'm gonna feel naked. I'm gonna feel vulnerable. That's a different. I can love you. It's easy to love you, but to give myself for you, the way Christ did, to death. Mm-hmm. So our version of to death would be more than what most men do now.
Yeah,
I believe.
And after that, you find favor with the Lord, because I think that's a scripture where we stop short also. Where it says, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing, and we stop there. But it continues to say he finds favor with the Lord. I mean, you're talking about giving yourself. Like, Lord, can I get a little favor for that?
Right.
That's a big deal.
Because the reality is, because women were created to nurture and give, and we are always stretching toward our men. Yes. When you give this much, there is nothing that your wife won't do for you and do for you and build. And the guy who was talking yesterday, he was like, if I give my wife $5, she's gonna make 5,000.
Hello.
Because that's what he's like. I have taken care of her, not just financially, because he was talking about providing. We get into a whole nother thing. We were talking about providing and protecting. He's like, provision is not about money only. Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe 100% should be. He's like providing for her spiritually, providing for her emotionally, providing for her spiritually and time and financial. And so he's like, and I do that. And so now she can walk in who she is.
Yes.
A nurturer and a builder. So whatever I give her, it's going to multiply. And that to me is the favor of the Lord. He doesn't just like pour money out on you or pour stuff on you. When you find a good wife, boy, and that's what I'm like, I'm a good wife. I'm right there with you, brother. Who are you? You watching? I'm ready. That thing multiply. But that's the thing. And here's the other part. Men want to lead, but not in loving, as Christ loved the church. To be the leader, that means you have to go first. Before I submit, you got to love.
Yeah.
And that's the part that it's just like, no, you want me to submit so you can love. No. Because if you're going to love like Christ loved, some people still love Christ. And he still gave himself.
Yes.
So our submission is between us and God. It's not between us and you. and your love is between you and God. So when you love as him, then our submission, like you said, comes naturally. And it's going to be amazing. Okay, folks, thank you for joining us. Check out, if you don't know, check out Ephesians 5, 22 through 29. That scripture of wives submit and husbands love as. And so we appreciate you joining us. Thank you. For those who are here new, we love for you to hit that like button, subscribe to us. We're here Tuesday. Next week, we're going to talk to married men. Onita can't be on that episode because her husband's going to be on the episode. we have 3 married men that are going to join us next week to talk about what men want. And then the next week, Onita's going to be back, not as a host, but as a guest. 3 wives talking about what women want. And then we're going to have a special on Friday evening, the 15th of December. We're going to have probably a 2-hour special with the couples talking about marriage, sex, money, everything. So you need to be there. So subscribe so you know when it's coming.
Yes.
We'll see you next week. Thank you, Hayden, for bringing this to. This was a great discussion.
Yes.
Thank you for all those who are watching. Thank you for the comments. Please hit that like button again. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Onita. Thank you, Ebony, for being in the comments. Thank you, Heather, for your production skills. And we love you. If you want to give love to the platform, you can donate a single mission at no, what is it? Let's check it out. asinglemission.com, click the donate button. And again, anybody who wants to, I'm going to be reaching out to people individually, but support at A Single Mission if you'd like to be on the book launch team. That's coming in December. We really appreciate you. Until next time, make choices that will help you live, love, and marry wiser. God bless you.